Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 6, Week 4. We're going to begin with our vocabulary words. Our first word is the word invented. If you invented something, that means you are the first person to make it up. So we know that Thomas Edison was one of the first people who invented the light bulb. Our next word is the word prices. The prices of things are how much you have to pay to buy them. So how many dollars you have to pay to buy something, that's the price. Next, we have the word record or record. You can say it either way depending on the meaning of the word. For this definition that we're going to use today, we're going to use the pronunciation record. So if there's a record of something, there are facts written down about it. That means someone was documenting or writing down information about that thing. So we have a record of it. Next, we have the word system. A system is a plan or a set of rules for doing something. So it's the steps and the plans and all of the things you have to do to get something done. So the library has a system for arranging books. We have a system for our classroom libraries. There's a system for how we transition between classes and things like that. Next, we have the word value. The value of something is how much that thing is worth. So if we're talking about, for example, the value of a car, we're talking basically about how much is that car worth, or how much money, for example, is that car worth? That's the value of it. Now, if we're talking about worth, if something is worth a certain amount of money, for example, it costs that much money to buy. So a car might be worth $20,000, or a new toy, a new bicycle may cost, or the worth of that bicycle may be $50. Next, we have the word money. Money is the dollars and the cents that we use to buy things. So that currency, the kind of thing that we're using, that we're exchanging when we go to buy something, that's money. And last, our word is purchase. That means you're buying it. So purchase and buy are synonyms, right? So it means that you're giving money to get something. So you're purchasing it or you're buying it. Now, for our spelling words for this week, we're going to be talking about vowel team syllables. Now, our words this week are going to be the words way, away, root, balloon, play, display, reach, enjoy, explain, meadow, little, middle, complete, enough, and river. Now, when we are talking about vowel team syllables, we're talking about usually two, sometimes more letters that when you put them together, they make a single vowel sound. And it's usually either two vowels or a vowel with the letter Y or the letter W. So some common vowel teams I listed for you over here are A-I, A-Y, O-A, O-W, and so on. We'll go through those in a second. But one important thing that you need to remember is that when we're talking about vowel teams, since they make a one vowel sound, they don't get split apart into separate syllables. They stay together the whole time. So when you're dividing a word into syllables, that vowel team stays together in the same syllable. So for the AI vowel team, we have words like complain, afraid, entertain, or mail. You're seeing that AI stays together every single time in the same syllable. For AY, we have playful, daydream, tray, and clay. For OA, we have floating, rowboat, coat. For OW, we have pillow, blow, tower, vowel. For OI, we have words like boiling or oily. For OY, we have destroy, employ, or toy. And notice that vowel team, the OY in these, is always staying the same, just like our other vowel teams. For OO, we have cocoon or balloon. For EW, we have fewer or stew. Now remember, I know we are calling them vowel teams, and they're usually two vowels together, but sometimes they have, like we said, the letter W or the letter Y in it as part of that vowel team because it still makes that single vowel sound. For EA, we have read, leader, please, or repeat. And for EE, we have needle, feeding, or unseen. So remember, vowel team syllables are when you have two vowel letters or a vowel and the letter W or Y in the same syllable, making one single sound. So you're not saying those letters separately, you're saying them together as one single sound. Next, we're going to talk about our comparative endings. Now, comparative endings are used when we want to compare two or more nouns. So we add ER when we're comparing to the ending of two nouns, when we're comparing only two things, and we add the EST ending when we're comparing three or more nouns. So for two nouns, I can say fast becomes faster. So Jamil is faster than his brother. We're comparing how fast these two people are. I can say Abdurrahman is younger than Zara. So we're comparing the age of two people. Now, when we're adding EST, it means we're comparing three or more things. We're adding a group. So I can say Salim is the fastest on the running team. So I'm comparing Salim, one person, to the whole team. So that's three or more people. Or I can say Fatima got the highest score in the class on her test. So I'm comparing the score that she got to the score that everyone else in the class got. So when we add the comparative ending ER or EST to a noun, we're comparing just two nouns for ER, and then we're adding, again, EST when we're comparing three or more nouns. So for ER, some examples, tall becomes taller, big becomes bigger, fast becomes faster, and that's when we're comparing one thing to one other thing. Now, something important to remember here, we're going to talk about in a minute, is you'll notice that when I wrote the word bigger, I put two G's in here. So big usually only has one G, but when I wrote bigger, I doubled that consonant, that final consonant, and then I added the ER ending. Now for EST, we are going to add that ending that we call a superlative ending. So think like super, right? The greatest of everything. So clean becomes cleanest. The room is the cleanest in the whole house. Bright becomes brightest. The sun is one of the brightest stars in the galaxy. Strong becomes strongest. Say Superman was the strongest superhero of them all. Now, let's go over some of those rules that we were talking about. So when I was talking to you about big turning into bigger, there's a rule that we need to follow here. If our word ends with a vowel and a consonant, so in the word big, the vowel is the I and G is the consonant, we double that final consonant before we add the ER or the EST ending. So big is spelled B-I-G, but bigger is B-I-G-G-E-R, and biggest is B-I-G-G-E-S-T. The same rule applies to the word sad. Sad has a vowel and then a final consonant. So it ends with an A and then a D. So sad becomes sadder with two Ds, or saddest, again with two Ds. Now, if we have a word that ends with a consonant plus the letter Y, we're going to change that Y into an I before we add our ER or EST ending. So happy, H-A-P-P-Y, it ends with a consonant, the letter P, and then the letter Y right after it. So that Y becomes an I, becomes H-A-P-P-I-E-R or H-A-P-P-I-E-S-T. The same applies for the word dry that also ends with a consonant and then the letter Y. Dry is D-R-Y, drier. This towel is drier than the other one. D-R-I-E-R, or this is the driest towel in the bunch. D-R-I-E-S-T. That's the second rule. The third rule we're going to pay attention to is words that end with a silent E. If we have a silent E at the end of the word, we're going to drop that silent E. We're going to take it off before we add an ER or an EST. So cute becomes cuter or cutest, where we drop the E that was in cute before we added the ER, or the EST. Same for the word wide, ends with a silent E. Wide becomes wider or widest. So we drop that original E that's on the word wide, and then we replace it with ER or EST. Next, we're going to talk about something called adverbs. So an adverb is a word that tells more about a verb, and it's almost always going to answer questions like how, when or how often, and where. Words like slowly, loudly, carefully, quickly, quietly, or sadly are all adverbs. And adverbs usually, but not always, will end with an ly when they're telling you how. So examples of adverbs that tell how are like the words quickly, carefully, quietly. They read their books quickly. She was practicing her cursive writing carefully after school, or we walked through the room quietly so we wouldn't wake the baby. You also have adverbs that tell you when or how often something happens. So please remember to buy your zoo tickets early before they sell out. I went to a sleepover at my cousin's house yesterday, right? Yesterday tells us when we went to that sleepover, or we always buy groceries from the farmer's market. I never want to see a tarantula in real life. So all of these words that are bolded and italicized like this that you're seeing are words that are telling you when something happens or how often it happens. You know, does it always happen? It never happens. It sometimes happens. It was early or late, yesterday or today or tomorrow, before or after. These are all words that tell you when or how often something happens. We also have adverbs that tell where. The car turned right at the stop sign. So right tells us which way it's going. I stepped forward to do my presentation. The little bird flew nearby. We hiked up the mountain. Please put your backpack there on the rack. So these are all examples of words that tell you where. Next, we're going to talk about something called prepositions and prepositional phrases. So a preposition is a word that comes right before a noun or a pronoun, and it shows how the things in the sentence are related to each other. So the different parts of the sentence or the different words in a sentence, prepositions and prepositional phrases link them together. They show us how they're related. So some examples of prepositions are like the words in, about, at, from, with, to, and by. So I can see the flower is in the vase. We read about sea creatures. We are standing at the back of the line. I bought fruits from the market. Marianne's umbrella is the one with the polka dots. We will be going to the movies. The lunchroom is by the playground. So we've looked at some of these words. And we said those are prepositions. A prepositional phrase is the group of words that starts with one of these with a preposition, and it ends with a noun or a pronoun, and it includes all the words in between. So here are some prepositional phrases from the examples that we talked about in these sentences. So in is my preposition. The vase, all that together in the vase becomes my prepositional phrase because it has a preposition in and it ends with a noun, which is the word vase. So everything in between those two, including those words, is part of a prepositional phrase. We read about sea creatures. So about sea creatures is my prepositional phrase. It has my preposition in the start and it ends with my noun. If I say that we are standing at the back of the line, at is my preposition, line is my noun. So that and all the words in between are my prepositional phrase, at the back of the line. We bought fruits from the market. From the market becomes my prepositional phrase. So when you're looking at the original sentences on top, you can see that I bolded or wrote more darkly the preposition, but I underlined the entire prepositional phrase so you can see it in the sentence. Marianne's umbrella is the one with the polka dots. So with is my preposition. Polka dots is my noun. So with the polka dots is my whole prepositional phrase. To the movies and then by the lunchroom. So those are my prepositional phrases from those sentences above. Next, we're going to review capitalization. Now, we capitalize a proper noun always. So, a proper noun is the name or title of a specific person, place, or thing. Proper nouns always begin with capital letters because they name something specific. If our proper noun has more than one word, each one of the important words will begin with a capital letter. So we capitalize things like the names of the days of the week, months, different holidays. We also capitalize important words in a title, names of languages, nationalities, so like where people are from, and places. So I put some examples for you here. For days, obviously Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. Months, all of the months of the year, January, February, March, all the way to December. Holidays like Memorial Day, Eid al-Adha, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, all of those are capitalized. Titles of things like books, like The Mouse and the Motorcycle or Where the Wild Things Are, we capitalize always the first word and all the important words. Languages, English, Spanish, Somali, Pashto, Dari, Arabic, French, all of these because they're the name of a specific language, we capitalize them. We capitalize nationalities. If someone is Somali or Afghan or Syrian or Mexican or Kenyan or from any other place, we capitalize that as well. We also capitalize the names of places like Lake Tahoe, Niagara Falls, the Grand Canyon, Mount Rushmore, because these are names of specific places. They are proper nouns, so we have to capitalize them. We also always capitalize the pronoun I when we use it. Doesn't matter where in the sentence it is. It can be at the beginning, it can be in the middle. I can say, where do I put my backpack? I will go to the library after school. Can I go with my friends to the park? Or he said, I love baking cookies. Every time you're using the pronoun I, it has to be capitalized. So let's go on to our reading for this week. And we're going to be reading our first story in our literature anthology called Money Madness. So this is an expository text. It's going to provide you with information. It's going to give you facts and information about money. It's also going to have a lot of the things that we see in expository text. Some of these text features like headings and boldface words and diagrams and captions under those pictures and so on. So let's go ahead and listen to our reading for this week.
Genre: Expository Text. Money Madness by David A. Adler. Illustrated by Edward Miller. Essential question: how do we use money? Read about how money works. What's all this money madness? People talk about money and work for it. They seem to always want more of it. Take a look at a dollar bill. There's a nice portrait of George Washington on it, but it's just paper. Why do people want money? People want money because it can be used to buy things. Now imagine a world without money. If you were hungry and there was no such thing as money, how would you buy a loaf of bread? You would have to bake your own. Without money, how would you get the ingredients for the bread? If no one would give or sell you flour, you would have to grow wheat, harvest it, grind it, and sift it before you would have flour for your bread. If there was no such thing as money and you needed new clothes, you would have to make them. Imagine if you had to knit your own sweater. Imagine if you had to raise a sheep and shear it, spin the wool to make yarn, and then knit the sweater yourself. There was a time before money. Long ago, people couldn't buy things. When they were hungry, they gathered berries and killed animals. When they were cold, they gathered wood for their fires. Before there was money, people gathered and hunted for what they needed. They were self-sufficient. Some people liked to hunt. They were good at it. Others were good at making clubs or clothing. Soon people traded one thing for another. A hunter traded with a food gatherer. A club maker traded with a clothing maker. A system of trading one thing for another is called bartering. Maybe you barter. Have you ever traded one toy for another? At lunch, have you ever traded an apple for an orange? That's bartering. However, there are times when bartering doesn't work. A hunter could trade an animal for berries, but how many berries? And what if the hunter didn't want berries? How would a baker trade for a house? How many loaves of bread would he have to trade? And why would anyone want so much bread? Long before a person could eat all that bread, most of it would be stale. A hunter who didn't want berries might be willing to trade for them anyway if he knew he could then trade the berries for something he did want. A homeowner might be willing to trade her house for bread if she knew she could then trade the bread for something she did want. In those trades, the berries and bread would be a kind of money. At one time, cows, sheep, camels, rocks, feathers, salt, dried fish, fish hooks, animal skins, and strings of beads made from clamshells were all used as money. People valued cows, sheep, and camels, and they could always trade one of those animals for something they wanted. But what if something was worth just half a cow? You wouldn't want to cut a cow in half to buy something. What if the sheep or camel you wanted to trade was sickly? You might have trouble trading it. When animals were used as money, your money needed to be fed. Your money could die. It could run away. Rocks were another early form of money. Rocks come in different sizes, but they're heavy to carry around. Feathers were used as money too. Feathers are light, but they can blow away. What was needed was something that wouldn't get sick, didn't have to be fed, wasn't too heavy or light, came in different weights or sizes, and most people wanted. Stop and check. Summarize. Summarize the early forms of money that you have read about. Hundreds of years ago, people found that metals made good money. People valued bronze and copper, which could be cut into small pieces just right for carrying around. To know how much each piece was worth, people just had to weigh it. The heavier the piece of metal, the more it was worth. These pieces became the first coins. Then coins were made from silver and gold. People wanted silver and gold, so they were happy to trade for silver and gold coins. But carrying many coins is difficult, so paper money was invented. The first paper money was like a printed promise, a promise that the money could be taken to a bank and traded for silver and gold coins. In the United States, people no longer use silver and gold coins as money. But paper money still has value because you can use it to buy things. You can use paper money to buy bread, furniture, and clothing. You can use it to buy a house. You can even use paper money to buy silver and gold. Each country has its own money. In the United States, people use dollars. In Mexico, people use pesos. In Israel, new shekels. In Russia, rubles. In China, yuan. In Canada, dollars. In South Africa, rand. And in Brazil, reais. People in many of the countries in Europe use euros, promissory note. Mexico, Europe, China, Brazil. The value of money in each country keeps changing. $1 US may be worth 10 Mexican pesos one day and a little more or less the next day. Your dollar may be worth 7 Chinese yuan one day and slightly more or less the next day. $2. $1. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Red, Mexican peso. Yellow, Chinese yuan. The value of each country's money goes up when prices go down in that country. When that happens, the dollar buys more. The value of each country's money goes down when prices go up in that country. When prices go up, the same dollar buys less. When prices go down, the value of a dollar goes up. For example, when a scoop of ice cream costs $1, each dollar buys one scoop. If prices go down and a scoop of ice cream now costs just 50 cents, a dollar buys double what it bought before. Now a dollar buys 2 scoops of ice cream. The value of a dollar in relation to ice cream went up. As prices in a country go down, not just for ice cream but for many, even most things, the value of its currency goes up. Checks and credit cards are money too, because they can be used to buy things. Some people even use digital money. With digital money, there is a computer record of the money in an account. When you spend that money to buy a book or download music, the amount you spend is subtracted from your account. Even though you cannot see digital money, it's still money because it can be used to buy things. Book orders, $15, Abe Lincoln. $15, Mary Cash. $15, Connie Coin. $15, Uncle Sam. Bank account, name, Uncle Sam. Funds, $100. Purchase, minus $15. $85. $15. Buy. Stop and check. Summarize. How does digital money work? Summarize what you have read. We no longer live in a world with just hunters and food gatherers. We live in a world with dancers, teachers, doctors, astronauts, dentists, and bakers. Without money, it's hard to imagine what a dancer would trade to buy a car. Without money, it's hard to imagine what a teacher would trade to buy a sweater. It's hard to imagine a world without money. Now reach into your pockets. Do you have any coins? Do you have any paper money? If you do, you're probably pleased. You know with money you can buy things you want. With money you can buy things you need. Genre, myth, compare texts. Read about a king whose wish for gold causes problems. King Midas and the Golden Touch. Many years ago, King Midas lived in a grand palace with a beautiful rose garden. He had one daughter whom he loved very much. One day, King Midas performed a good deed for a friend who rewarded King Midas by granting him one wish. King Midas wanted to become rich, but he did not desire money. He did not want to purchase jewels and goods. Instead, he wanted riches that money could not buy. King Midas wished that everything he touched be turned instantly to gold. King Midas's friend granted him the wish. King Midas ran over to his garden and touched a rose. The flower instantly turned to gold. King Midas clapped his hands with glee. King Midas spent all day turning things to gold. By dinner time, he was very hungry and thirsty. He sat down to eat with his daughter and his friend. King Midas reached for the food and water on his gold table, but each object he touched turned to gold, leaving him hungry and thirsty. King Midas's daughter offered him her water. He reached to take it and without thinking touched her hand, Immediately she turned to gold too. Stunned, King Midas begged his friend, "Undo my wish, please." Seeing that he had learned his lesson, his friend undid the wish at once. All the golden objects returned to normal, including his daughter. King Midas hugged his daughter tightly. He had lost his gold, but he had gained back what he truly loved. Some things are worth more than gold. Make connections. Instead of using money, what did King Midas use to get rich? What are the different forms of money that you have read about this week?
Okay, that takes us to the end of our first reading in our literature anthology. We're going to go ahead and jump into our readers and writers workshop and read over there. We have our vocabulary words, which you guys can review on your own. Our story here is titled The Life of a Dollar Bill, and this is another expository text that we're going to read.
Genre: expository text. The Life of a Dollar Bill. Essential question: how do we use money? Read to learn about how a dollar bill circulates. The dollar bill is printed. One day, a dollar bill is printed at the United States Bureau of Engraving and Printing. The bill is printed on a machine that was invented or created to save time. It prints many bills at a time. Let's follow the dollar bill. It gets sent to a big bank and then a local bank. A family visits this neighborhood bank to get money. The dollar bill goes to a boy for his allowance. The boy brings the dollar bill to the bookstore. He checks prices to see how much the books cost. Then he decides what he can purchase. He finds a book to buy, but is it worth the price? He's not sure. The boy reads the back of the book and thinks about the price. The boy decides the book is a good value, so he exchanges his money for the book. The U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing prints millions of dollar bills each day. The dollar bill travels. Later, a girl buys a birthday card at the bookstore. She gets the dollar bill as change. She takes the dollar bill home and saves it in her piggy bank. When the girl wants to see a movie, she takes money out of her piggy bank, including the dollar bill. She uses it to pay for the ticket. Then the dollar bill travels on. Almost 2 years pass, and now a man gets the dollar bill. It is worn out and torn. The man is not sure if it's usable. What happens to the ripped bill? The man takes it to his local bank and trades it in for a new dollar bill.
Bar graph. The average lifespan of U.S. bills. Graph labels. Number of years. $1 bill. $5 bill. $10 bill. $20 bill. $50 bill.
The dollar bill is replaced. The old dollar bill is returned to the big bank where workers decide that it can't be used again. They destroy the bill by shredding it. They cut it into tiny pieces. Back at the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing, a new dollar bill is printed to replace the old one. Workers use a record to keep track of how many bills are printed and destroyed. They make sure there are enough bills in the system so people can buy and sell things. The next time you hold a $1 bill, think of where it has been and where it is going. Each dollar bill has a busy, useful life. A machine shreds over 6 billion worn-out bills a year. Make connections. Why is a dollar bill important? What can you do with a $1 bill? Summarize. To summarize a selection, you tell only the most important details of the selection. This helps you remember what you have read. Find text evidence. After I read page 449 of The Life of a Dollar Bill, I will summarize what I read to make sure I understand it. Let's follow the dollar bill. It gets sent to a big bank and then a local bank. A family visits this neighborhood bank to get money. The dollar bill goes to a boy for his allowance. The boy brings the dollar bill to the bookstore. He checks prices to see how much the books cost. Then he decides what he can purchase. He finds a book to buy, but is it worth the price? He's not sure. The boy reads the back of the book and thinks about the price. I read that a dollar bill is printed and first shipped to a big bank and then sent to a local bank. The dollar bill then goes to a boy and gets spent. Problem and solution. Some information in an informational text may be presented as a problem. The solution is how the problem is solved. Find text evidence. As I begin reading page 450 of The Life of a Dollar Bill, I find a problem. Bills get worn out and torn. I keep reading to find the solution to this problem. Graphic organizer. Problem. A dollar bill gets worn out or torn. Expository text. The Life of a Dollar Bill is an expository text. Expository text gives facts and information about a topic, includes text features. Find text evidence. I know that The Life of a Dollar Bill is an expository text. It gives information about money. The text features help me learn more about dollar bills. Story structure. Subheadings tell what a section of text is about. A graph helps you compare information using numbers. Paragraph clues. Paragraph clues can help you figure out the meaning of a new word. Look at the sentences within the paragraph for clues to help you understand a new word. Find text evidence. I'm not sure what the word shredding means. In the first sentence, the workers decide the dollar bill can no longer be used. The last sentence explains that shredding means cutting it into small pieces. The old dollar bill is returned to the big bank where workers decide that it can't be used again. They destroy the bill by shredding it. They cut it into tiny pieces.
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes for this week. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.